Let's spend a few minutes talking about safety before we do much of anything else. Okay, this is a good review for those of you who've been around, and it might be something new as well. But in refrigeration, you are going to be dealing with some pretty high pressures in small devices, okay? The compressors we have in the shop, they're small, but they do provide some pretty high pressures, especially on the high side of the system. For those who are new, don't worry much about this right now. We will get to it. Okay, but I just want you to be aware of some of the safety things, and the primary one is you cannot be in the shop without safety glasses and work boots. Okay, and that actually is the uniform, so we need to deal with that right up front. Safety glasses and work boots are an absolute must. Okay, dangerous pressures can build up in most of anything. Okay, in most of every device we have, in most of every container you're going to be using, there's what's called pressure-temperature relationship. Temperature goes up, so does the pressures. Okay, so a couple things that we need to talk about is refrigerant cylinders are stored upright, valve stems up. Okay, make sure you move any large cylinders with a protective cap in place. And when you're using nitrogen in the larger cylinders, the ones that are about as tall as you are sometimes, put them on a cart and secure them to a cart that's specifically designed for moving cylinders. Eye protection is an absolute. Gloves we want to see worn when you're dealing with refrigerant in a situation where there could be some leakage. Most often you won't see that used in the field, but eye protection is an absolute. Okay, we want to be very sure that tanks do not fall over. Okay, especially if a cylinder falls over and hits its valve stem on something on the ground like you see here, that tank is going to become a missile. Okay, all the pressure in that tank will come out of the right side, or where the valve stem used to be, and it will actually blow that tank across the room. So be very careful about that. Okay, you want to be careful when working with electrical circuits. Okay, uncontrolled electrical current can result in shocks and burns. In other words, follow lockout tagout procedures. Don't work on wiring a piece of equipment when it's live. You're going to be using live circuits. You're going to be taking voltage reading on live circuits, but just be aware of your surroundings and don't put your fingers into circuits, especially to try to point things out to your instructors. Okay, it's usually not a good idea. 120 volts isn't going to hurt you. Okay, 220, 480, yeah, that can kill you. So please be a little bit careful on that. Okay, shock occurs when you become part of an electrical circuit. Okay, most of our shop tables in the shop have a rubber coating over them, but still, you can have a path of voltage through your body to ground. Okay, current flow through the heart can be fatal. Wear insulated work boots and never stand in water. Okay, which we shouldn't have a problem here in the building, but this is important to remember as you get into the field. Wear insulated work boots. Okay, grounding wires provide protection. Okay, that's that third prong on the electrical plugs. All your tools should be properly grounded. And if you see a tool with a missing ground plug, report it to your supervisor in school, report it to your instructor, and don't use it. And never ever clip the ground plug off a terminal. Okay, ungrounded tools that have two prongs. One supplies voltage to the tool and the other is a neutral. But you are the ground. You're holding the tool, and if something happens, if you drill into something that's electrical, that's energized, or if the tool has a problem, all of that voltage is going to go through your body, and it could cause a shock, and that could actually kill you. Okay, grounded tools have three prongs. You have a neutral, you have a line, and you have a ground. If the tool becomes grounded, the current will flow through the path of least resistance, which is the wire. And again, that's an important point to remember. Current will always flow through the path of least resistance. And it flows to the ground plug, protecting the user. Okay, if wall outlets only have two connections, a tool has three prongs, use an adapter. Okay, plastic cased, that's plastic handle tools are double insulated, and they might only have two grounds because that's a safe situation. Battery operated tools are convenient and much safer. Ground fault arc interrupts, in other words CFCI outlets, they can sense a small electrical leak to ground and they will shut down immediately. Now, a lot of people do wear a lot of jewelry. Okay, those of you who were with me last term in a couple of the classes, heard me talk about it. Okay, electrical safety. Okay, one of the biggest things is realize where your jewelry is. If you're a person that wears chains around your necks, wedding bands, or anything else, be very careful. Okay, I actually suggest you don't wear metallic jewelry while working on an electric circuit. The chains around your necks can flip forward and end up in a circuit. Never use a screwdriver in an electrical panel when a power is on. Okay, burns can result from electric sparks. That's called arc flash. Okay, you can get burnt. Okay, electrical sparks, electrical shocks, or burns can result if the screwdriver slips and makes contact between the hot terminal and ground. Okay, in other words, if you're screwing here in the electrical terminal and that screwdriver slips off and gets too close to the terminal block behind it, you can actually create a spark that will burn you. Okay, for ladders, we want to use non-conducting, preferably fiberglass. Okay, wood's okay, but wood eventually rots out. That's why I'm not that crazy about it. But do not use metallic ladders. Place ladders on level, stable surfaces. Don't use a damaged ladder. If you see damage and you really should inspect things, do not use it. Be sure ladders are free of oil, grease, and other slipping hazards. Be sure ladders have slip-resistant feet. And secure the ladder in place whenever possible. If you use a ladder to get up to a roof, secure that top rung of the ladder, or the second rung, to something on the roof. It will prevent it from falling down and leaving you stranded, or it will prevent it from some helpful maintenance guy picking up the ladder that he thinks no one is using and taking it away and leaving you on the roof. It's pretty embarrassing to call your service manager and say, "Hey, where's the ladder?" Okay. You have to worry about things in this course and in this type of work such as heat related. Okay, don't use a torch along combustible materials. Keep a fire extinguisher nearby when working with flammable materials. And try to use a fire shield, like a piece of metal or something, when soldering near combustibles. It's very easy to light something on fire with torches. Okay, never solder tubing on a sealed system. Okay, that means make sure if you're soldering something on a system, you have to have something open because pressure can build up in the material. Okay, pressure can build up in a sealed system. Okay, and when the pressure builds up, it's going to blow the hot liquid solder out at you. You don't want that to happen. Okay, be careful when you're working near hot pipes or motors. Okay, you don't want burns to happen. Okay, take proper precautions against heat related when working indoors or outdoors in extreme heat. So just take care of yourself. You don't want to be the next victim. Cold can also cause you problems. It can be as dangerous as excessive heat. Liquid refrigerant can cause frostbite. Okay, R22, when it comes out of the jug, which is one of the types of refrigerants we use, comes out at negative 41 degrees Fahrenheit. That's enough to burn you in a split second. Okay, when you're working inside a cold freezer, okay, walk-in freezers, wear warm clothing and waterproof boots. Okay, it's amazing how fast you can cool off in a cold walk-in freezer. Don't wear loose-fitting clothes around moving parts. Okay, these items can be caught up in pulleys, belts, and fans, resulting in serious injury. Use eye protection. Okay, don't try to grab onto a moving belt and stop it by hand. You'll lose your fingers. Okay, worry about lifting. Okay, get help from coworkers if you're trying to lift something too heavy, or use hand trucks or pulleys whenever possible. You only have one back. Try to save it. Okay, use proper lifting techniques. Lift with the legs, not the back muscles. Never twist from the waist while you're carrying items. Rotate the entire body in the direction you want to go. Okay, lots of HVAC techs out there try to be He-Man and lift everything possible. Just watch your back. Okay, ASHRAE standard 34-1992 addresses refrigerant toxicity and flammability. You need to familiarize yourself with this standard. We'll talk about it when we talk about EPA. Make sure you have proper ventilation anytime you're walking around a refrigerant. Okay, some leak detectors are required. Make sure they're functioning. Okay, refrigerant gases are heavier than air. Okay, if you get into a tight space and have a refrigerant leak, get out of the space. Work in a well-ventilated area and avoid breathing in refrigerant vapors. The chemicals used to clean evaporators and other equipment, okay, they are actually very toxic. Okay, you can remove skin with some of them, so be careful. Follow all the manufacturer's directions. Okay, if accidental exposures occurs, follow the manufacturer's first aid guidelines. Okay, so again, just make sure you don't get shocked with jewelry you're using. Wear your safety glasses at all times. Follow the lockout tagout procedures. Make sure everything is properly grounded. Okay, ensure that equipment is safe to use. Check ladders before you get on them. Take care of working in extreme heat or cold. And be very careful around moving machinery parts. There's a lot of technicians who get hurt every year on that. And be very careful when you're working with the chemicals, especially those to use to clean the equipment. That stuff is toxic and it will cause chemical burns.